Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1878 AN. Today's date is May 27th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Get Ready, It's Coming, Restructuring of the Global Economic System. Now, this is the time of year that most of us have a big old clear out. We get rid of all the stuff that's collected through the winter, hidden away in the back of a cupboard or a file cabinet. There might be a gold mine. Noble Gold can show you how to blow the financial dust off those files, revitalize the dead money, and catapult your retirement savings into orbit. Just for May, to celebrate Memorial Day, they are offering a solid silver Trump 2020 coin and a 10-ounce silver bar for anyone rolling over an IRA or cash deal over $20,000. Talk to the team over at Noble Gold today and call 877-646-5347. Protect your retirement by investing in a gold IRA. Now, on this Memorial Day, I just want to say thanks to our veterans and soldiers for giving the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Thank you for serving. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, everything is about to change, and the winds, they are shifting. If we look at the UK right now, we see the preliminary results from the European parliamentary elections are in, and just like the polls anticipated, the pro-European status quo has suffered a serious blow. Guess what? Farage's party is winning over 30% of seats. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this since 1979. Everything is changing. And Farage is going to push for change. And it's not just Farage, it's many other countries. Think about it. It started with the election of Trump, and now it is happening around the world. Peter Sweden tweeted out the following: Farage wins in UK, Le Pen wins in France, Salvini wins in Italy, Orban wins in Hungary, right-wing surging in Sweden, Poland. Everything is shifting. Massive success for the right wing and EU skeptics this election. Everything is changing. The entire global economic system, it's about to be restructured. And that's not all. It's going to go way beyond that. Nigel Farage tweeted out, "Never before in British politics has a party just 6 weeks old won a national election. If Britain does not leave the EU on October 31st, these results will be repeated at a general election. History has been made. This is just the beginning." Take a listen to what he says.
Before in British politics, as a new party launched just 6 weeks ago, topped the polls in a national election. The reason, of course, is very obvious. We voted to leave in a referendum. We were supposed to do so on March the 29th, and we haven't. There's a huge message here, massive message here. The Labour and Conservative parties could learn a big lesson from tonight, though I don't suppose that they actually will. The new date is the 31st of October. We in the Brexit Party have got men and women of considerable business experience. We want to be part of that negotiating team. We want to take responsibility for what's happening, and we're ready to do so. I hope the government is listening. I have to say this: if we don't leave on October the 31st, then the scores you've seen for the Brexit Party today will be repeated in a general election, and we are getting ready for it. Thank you.
And as you can see, he's saying, listen, the people voted. The people wanted to leave, and the government is not doing what the people want. Now, we need to go back in time. We need to go back in time to understand how all of this happened in the UK and the United States. Now, according to a newly resurfaced report, the former Prime Minister, Edward Heath, received financial reward that would be equivalent to $1.5 million before he signed away British sovereignty. Edward Heath signed the Accession Treaty to join the EEC, this is the precursor to the EU, in 1972. Edward Heath reportedly received $1.5 million from the EEC in 1963. Mr. Heath quickly gained the nickname of Mr. Europe and kept pressing Britain's cause in Brussels and championing the European aspiration at home. And he said in a television interview, this is back in January 1973, that don't worry, those people who fear that Britain is going to sacrifice its independence and sovereignty, well, it's not going to happen. These fears, I need hardly say, are completely unjustified. And according to files related to Mr. Heath's application to join the community, released by the Public Record Office at Kew in 2001, the former Prime Minister was fully aware of the implications to British sovereignty long before ascension into the EEC in 1973. Like we've always said, it is always the opposite of what they are telling us. If they're telling us it's good for us, you know it's bad for us. And if we take a look here in the United States, what happened here? Well, the bankers, when they were getting ready to push the Federal Reserve System in 1913, the bankers fooled Congress with their bill by putting clauses in the bill that limited their power. And what did they do? They removed these limits once the bill was passed. A double-headed trickery of the public and Congress, all it took. And while most of the 535 members of Congress were at home for Christmas or preparing to leave for the holidays, Congress passed the Federal Reserve Bill by the vote of 43 to 25. The bill was then represented to the newly elected U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, and Woodrow Wilson signed it into law on December 23, 1913. And with that, a small group had the monopoly over the issuing and creation of American money. Among the privileges that Woodrow Wilson received for the role he played in initiating the Federal Reserve, they printed his face on the largest U.S. dollar note ever issued, the $100,000 bill. They fashioned these money notes from December 1934 to January 1935 and used them for transactions between the Federal Reserve banks, and it wasn't for circulation among the general public. The 16th Amendment exempted income taxes from the Constitution requirements regarding direct taxes, after income taxes on rents, dividends, and interest were considered direct taxes and ruled to be illegal. Federal income tax on labor has been unlawfully imposed on the American people and kept in place for over a century. Contrary to various rulings by the U.S. Supreme Court, it exists so that successive federal governments can continue to pay the interest on money which, since 1930, they have been obligated to keep borrowing from bankers, and which the government previously could print independently. And we need to remember something very important. These central bankers, the only way they can weasel their way in here is with lies and trickery. And normally they pay people off, or they allow people to receive certain gifts, money, or anything else which might not look like a payoff, but it really is. Because they know once they get a hold of the economic system, they are in control. And we see that everything is starting to change now. Everything is changing. Their entire global economic system is about to be turned upside down. And Trump, right now, he is out in Japan. And he is making trade deals out in Japan. He's saying that we're not ready for China as of yet, but soon we will be. And I don't believe he's in a rush. He has many other things to do. And he needs to have everything in place. But we can see around the globe that there is change coming. And there's a reason for this. Because the people, they're starting to understand, they're starting to realize, they're starting to wake up to the fact that the elected leaders are not working for the people. And a lot of these elected leaders, they weren't even elected by the people. They were put into place by the elite. I mean, when you give two options, this person is chosen by the elite and this person is chosen by the elite, which of the two would you like? That's not a fair choice, because no matter what happens, they always win out. Why do you think they're fighting so hard against Trump? He wasn't chosen. They never wanted him in there. Why do you think they're fighting against Le Pen? Why do you think they've been fighting against Nigel Farage? Why do you think they were fighting against Morrison in Australia? Because they're not part of their group, and they understand that these people have different visions. Their vision is not to go along with the elite, with the central banks. What we're seeing now is the destruction of the old guard. We're getting prepared and ready to make a major change. And this change has to come. Remember, the central bank is completely exposed. I mean, if we look around the world and we look at automakers, let's just take this for example. The automobile manufacturing around the world is declining. The central bank system cannot support the global economic system in each one of these countries. And this is why you see Ford, Nissan, Honda, Tesla, Fiat, and the rest, they are laying off people. And the question is, why? Why are they laying off people? Because we are at the end stage of a central bank economy, a global economy that has been failing for a very long time. They're completely exposed. And this is what it looks like. I mean, this is not something completely out of the blue where it just started yesterday. This has been occurring for a very long time. Remember, there's different stages through a central bank system. You have the initial phase when you come off the gold standard where they create a lot of currency. You think it's great because they're creating a lot of dollars. They're throwing it into the economy. It's called inflation. And all of a sudden, your salary goes from $5,000 to $10,000. You're getting interest rates of, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19%. Your home is increasing in value. Your investments are doing fantastically. And this happens for a short period of time. Then they need to introduce credit. Why? Because that initial push starts to die down. And now people are starting to realize, well, my money doesn't go as far. How do I survive? Introduce credit, lower the rates. And then all of a sudden, people go out and they start to purchase. And then throughout time, people start to realize, well, I have too much debt. Now what? My wages, they're not increasing. They're declining. Huge amount of debt. Wages are declining. Interest rates at zero. I'm not really saving anything in the bank. What do I do? Well, this is the end stage that we're in right now. Companies, they can't survive. People aren't purchasing. People's wages aren't going up. The whole thing has been declining since the late 90s. When we moved into the 2000s, moved into 2008, it really started to accelerate. And from 2008 to this point, it is just absolutely awful. Yes, they can continually manipulate the numbers, but this only lasts so long. We are at the end part of a central bank fiat system. And like I've always said, they're expecting, they wanted an event. They don't have it. They're exposed. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure a way around this. But it seems like it's a little too late because the people around the world, by being in this position for a very long time, they're sick and tired of the central bank system. Around Europe and around the rest of the world, there are protests where they're protesting the central bank system. They don't want it. And we're going to see this here in the United States because Trump's message is going to push the people to have protests against the central bank system. And as he continually tweets out his message, people are going to wake up and people are going to realize. Because once it's shown that there was treason in this country, there was corruption, do you think people are going to believe him? Absolutely. If they believe him with that, do you think they will believe him with the central bank, that the central bank is not good for this country? And if they start showing evidence of why it's not good for this country, the people will believe, and that is called an audit. That is where we are headed, and the world is changing. The plan is working, and it's all being set up to destroy the central bank system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.